Hey everybody, we're going to be talking all about the reality of monetizing your sewing hobby, the good, the bad, the ugly. Stay tuned, I'm going to be spilling all the tea, and if you have any burning questions about a sewing related business, content creation, Etsy, or even YouTube, now is your chance to get answers in real time. Welcome to Sewing Report Live, everyone. I am Jen, and before we get into things, I do want to give a shout out to tonight's live stream sponsor, the Sewing Report Etsy shop, where you can get fabric, sewing supplies, fabric bundles, and a few handmade items as well. This live stream is sponsored, yes, by my own Etsy shop. So I appreciate everyone who's ever placed an order or everyone who's liked the shop. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm excited because I've ordered some new inventory that's supposed to be coming in this week, and I think it's some super fun sewing notions. So that should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into the show, everybody. And before we get started, I do want to do a few quick housekeeping items. Okay, first of all, I know we've been getting more and more viewers every week. It's great that we're starting to build a community and get some regular live stream viewers here on Sewing Report Live. So as we do that, we do want to make sure that the chat remains civil, respectful. Please be cool with each other. I know not everyone agrees on everything. Also, this is a politics-free zone. There are plenty of other places online where you can talk about politics. Sewing Report Live is not the place, so I ask that you not leave any political related comments or chats. You may be put in timeout. We'll see how this goes, but I don't want this devolving into the dumpster fire that is other places like Reddit or Facebook. Y'all know those are a hot mess. We don't want that happening here, so I greatly appreciate in advance everyone just respecting those general guidelines for the chat. Okay, so what we're going to be doing tonight is I'm going to be sharing my own experience. I've been a full-time sewing content creator for about 6 years. I'll be talking about that. Some of the realities and things I've experienced firsthand. So if you do have questions about any of that, now is the chance. One of the reasons I wanted to do these live streams is so that people that have questions, you can come here. Again, the comment section on the main channel, sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to answer everyone's question. So if you do have something you want answered, this is the place for it. If you watch live, you know, again, one thing I want to reward the live viewers with you guys with is the ability to get answers straight from me if that's what you're looking for. Okay, so we're going to be chatting about monetizing your sewing hobby. Now, one thing that you might run into if you've been sewing for any amount of time, quilting, you make things, is that people will constantly tell you that you need to turn it into a business. You need to monetize your sewing. People say, you know, why don't you start an Etsy shop? Or again, you should do a YouTube channel or start a blog or anything like that. Start open your own quilt shop. And I think some of those pursuits can be heavily glamorized. You might see someone like, oh, so-and-so started sewing in her basement and now she has an 8-figure business, something like that. But I think the reality is far from that. And that's why I want to kind of bring everybody back down to earth and just talk about the obstacles and some of the challenges that I have as a solo business, small business, in the sewing niche, because it is pretty difficult to make a living at it. So again, what we'll be doing, I'll be going over different aspects, and then we'll be taking some breaks for comments and questions. I also do have a JOANN, again, I know we can't get away from JOANN's. I do have some things. There's been a little bit of an update with JOANN Fabrics. I also have some surprising but kind of humorous story about Craftsy. Yes, Craftsy. What we all remember here. Oh no, I'll read a few comments right now to everyone watching. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. This is probably going to be kind of a longer stream, so buckle up here. I'm in a chatty mood. Rebecca, thank you. Got my first order from the Sewing Report Etsy shop. The tailor's awl was perfect for quilt binding. You know, I've actually used it for binding as well, and it is very handy for that. We've got Sandy here. Thank you, everyone here. Already got some viewers. Thank you very. So yes, if you have questions that you think I can answer about selling things on Etsy or about YouTube content creation, social media, now is the chance. I will, try to answer as many questions as we can. Yeah, that's exactly what I get all the time. So on YouTube, make kids clothes for money. Nope. And that's the thing. Everyone, it seems like no matter what your hobby is, people in your orbit will constantly tell you you have to monetize it and turn it into a business. And I think these people are well-meaning, but they don't really get how difficult that really is. Like the people constantly saying you should open an Etsy shop. And like, all right, so I'll start out by saying this. I think for most people out there, I think sewing as a hobby is the way to go. I would say for 95% of you out there, you don't need to turn your sewing into any sort of business for various reasons. Again, running a business is hard. Starting a business is hard. Making a profit is very hard. Most businesses fail. So that's what I really want to get into. I just want to be a little more pragmatic about this and not try to give people these like unrealistic expectations or like, not look. Like, I know we all, you may have seen Gary Vaynerchuk. In his eyes, everyone should be like a CEO. But, like, let's be real. Not everyone can be a CEO. Not everyone should or can start their own business. And I think for at least 95% of you out there, probably your best route is just to keep sewing as an enjoyable hobby, something you do for fun, and not something you need to do for money. Just my opinion. And in regards to YouTube, I don't think most people should have a YouTube channel. I think it's, especially if you're doing it for the money, if you're out there and your sole goal is money, I would say don't open a sewing related business. Don't do a YouTube channel because I just think there are far easier and better ways just to make money. Because, I don't make that much money from everything I'm doing. So we'll be talking about that. And I think if you want to do it for fun, that's great. If you want to do a YouTube channel as a hobby, if you want to sew and have an Etsy shop as a hobby and you're not doing it to pay your bills, I think that's totally fine. But I just think a lot of this like social media marketing and monetization stuff has really been glamorized to like crazy levels. So, all right. So that's what we'll be talking about this evening here. All right. So, okay. So what are the ways that you can monetize your sewing hobby? And I know a lot of people got into sewing during the pandemic. A lot of people started Etsy shops during the pandemic, saw an abnormal level of sales during 2020, 2021. And now even a lot of Etsy sellers are just like, where did all the business go? My sales have plummeted. Even a lot of people, again, might have been kind of a social media phenomenon during COVID. But now that people have gotten back to their regularly scheduled lives, a lot of that artificial activity has stopped. So there are quite a few different ways that you could monetize your sewing hobby. So I do have some notes I've, kind of worked up. So some possible things include, of course, the obvious selling handmade items, or selling personalized items. You sell quilts, you sell kids' clothing, you sell, little, maybe handmade bags. You can sell, maybe sell personalized blankets. There are a lot of ways where, you can make and sell handmade items. Another angle is content creation, what I'm doing here. I don't normally sell, again, I have a few things in the Etsy shop, but the vast majority of my income does not come from selling anything I make. It comes from YouTube videos. It comes from affiliate programs, the Etsy shop. Again, you can do sponsorships and brand deals. I don't really do that myself. That's not an angle I've really gone into because of certain reasons that you probably all know if you've been here for a while. You can also get into teaching. You can teach classes. Again, you can even teach online. You can teach online classes. You can do sewing lessons, teaching people doing that. You can get into fabric and pattern designing. There are people that do that. that will, people with a graphic design background, they'll, like people like Tula Pink or people like Jennifer Sampu. There are many others that do very well. Carolyn Friedlander, well-known pattern designers. You can also design patterns. There's been quite a boom in the indie pattern design world. There are so many different people that are now selling their own sewing and quilting patterns. You can also do some sort of manufacturing or producing an item that you sell to people who sew or quilt. That's sort of what I do. I actually sell a lot of sewing and quilting supplies in the Etsy shop. Well, I don't make those personally. I have a distributor that I buy from, and then I sell them with a markup, so again, that kind of ties into the whole social media, using that to sell products. So you can do that, or you can come up with your own proprietary item, like my friends at Sew Tights, by the way, not sponsored, but I do want to give a shout out to our friends at Sew Tights. They did send me this really cool little display and storage stand for all my Sew Tights magnets. I sell some Sew Tights myself in the Etsy shop, but I also have a link. It is an affiliate link to the Sew Tights website, so I don't sell all of the Sew Tights products. But if you are interested in like this little hang stand or like the cutting system that I featured on the main channel, there's a link in the description box, and you can also get 15% off of your Sew Tights order with the coupon code Sewing Report. So again, that's another way content creators generate income, is through various affiliate programs. You can also do, again, this is probably one of the more difficult ways to generate income, but you can open up a brick and mortar or an online fabric business like a quilt shop. Again, those are pretty challenging. Anything with a physical location, your overhead is very high. And I can say, as someone that now sells fabric myself, there's really not that much profit in selling fabric. It's very difficult to move the fabric. And I only operate online. So if I had like a storefront, I don't think I would make it. Even with the social media stuff, I don't think I would be able to make a brick and mortar quilt shop work. Now, there have been some exceptions. One being Jenny Doan with Missouri Star Quilt Company. That's a booming success, but I also think her situation is more of an outlier case. I think most people that attempted that sort of thing probably wouldn't be able to be as successful as Jenny Doan with Missouri Star Quilt Company. But again, I think that's awesome that she was able to do it, her and her team. But I also think that's probably one of the most difficult businesses you can open, is a physical storefront. Okay, so there's a couple things to keep in mind. Now, I've been doing full-time content creation on YouTube in the sewing space for I started about 7 years ago. And, I'll be real with you. I don't make that much money doing this. Do I need to focus more on income this year? Absolutely, I do. And that is one of my goals this year, is to, I would say my goal for 2024 is to maybe break $50,000 in income after expenses. I have generated over $50,000 in income gross, but not before all of the expenses. And there are a lot of expenses with doing content creation and social media as a self-employed job situation. So that's what I would consider myself. Is this technically a small business? Yes, but I don't really consider this a quote-unquote business. I feel like what I do is more of just a self-employment situation that I have structured as a business. Probably my best year, I grossed maybe in the 60s. But again, that was before all of the expenses. And there are a lot of expenses with doing this. Some of the expenses being, obviously, as a YouTube creator, I have photography, audio equipment. I have quite a few, actually big expenses for me are computer equipment. I have several different computers. This computer I'm operating right now is just for live streaming. And my husband builds PCs as a hobby, so he's pretty good at that. And I would say this computer was definitely over $1,000 to build. Got the microphones. We've got, cameras like this. Again, this is, just sort of a little vlogging camera. I have 2 cameras that I'm using right now. I've got a camera that's getting this shot, and then I have another camera that's overhead. I've got an iPad that I'm using as a monitor. I've got lights. I've got, rigs up here. So there's actually a lot that you don't really see in the shot that I've spent money on, that I've invested in for the channel. I also have all kinds of other expenses like web hosting, like domain registrations for websites. I've got a bunch of different like digital subscriptions. I'm not largely a fan of subscriptions overall, but I do have a lot of stuff that I pay for, like my Adobe subscription. This tool I'm using right now to live stream is called StreamYard, and that costs like $480 a year, so that's not cheap. There's also a few other tools like this thing I'm using right here. This is called Stream Deck Mobile. This costs money. So a lot of the things I use to create content, edit, I also subscribe to a few different like tools that provide like graphics and other elements for videos. Like I have a Canva Pro subscription and Envato subscription where I get all different types of like elements for videos. I've also had to invest countless hours into learning how to shoot, edit videos, learn the YouTube platform, figure everything out. So I've invested a lot of time and a lot of money into doing content creation as my quote unquote job. There's tons of stuff I need to spend money on. Also, I have to spend money on all of the inventory. Like I'm sitting on thousands of dollars worth of Etsy shop inventory that just hasn't sold yet. So I probably have just an inventory in my house alone. Probably, if I had to guess a number, I would say at least like $3,000 to $5,000 in fabric, in all the notions. Because again, I have to have inventory on hand, and I like to have a good selection in the shop so that I can have a lot of different things to offer to customers. There's also things I've had to purchase for videos, like the Brother Sketch, different sewing machines, embroidery machines that I purchased that I wouldn't have purchased otherwise, but I purchased for the channel. So even operating just a YouTube channel, I would say probably costs, I would say several $1,000s a year to run a YouTube channel. Plus, there's wear and tear on all this equipment. And eventually I'm going to have to replace like cameras, that sort of thing. I also have like memory cards, all of like the microphone, I've got like all these like little things. And believe me, this stuff really adds up the costs. I have this label printer for the Etsy shop. So there's a lot of different like small and large costs of operating an Etsy shop, doing a YouTube channel, and being able to do content creation. Again, this is a business expense for me, my iPhone 13 Pro, and I use this for a lot of different things, from making videos to posting photos, using it to operate all the social media stuff. So there are a lot of costs with just being a YouTube creator. You can do it on the cheap. I'm not saying you can't, but if you want to kind of level up the game and be a more serious content creator, it is a good idea to invest a lot of your earnings from YouTube back into the channel, just to be able to, provide a quality viewing experience for all of you. All right, let's read some of the comments real quick. And yeah, if you have questions about any of this, happy to answer. This is the place for it. Okay, we've got, Carmen, good comment. Thank you. Yes, rule number 1 is to manage expectations. And that's the thing. I think the thing I want to express to all of you is that I think if you want to monetize your sewing hobby into like more of a business, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. It's going to be something that takes years to establish. And I think that seems to be the case for most of the people I see that make a living in the sewing space, is that they started small and then they kept growing and growing over time. Again, it took me 7 years to get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers. again, you can see the silver play button here. That's a really long time, and most of the people that make it on YouTube don't just grow quickly. It's something that takes a really long time. And again, there are far easier and quicker ways to make money, to make more money than I'm making now. All right, we got Jamie here. Thank you for watching. Jamie is one of our regular viewers here. Hey, Jen, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this. I'm afraid it may ruin the fun that sewing is for me. And that's something that you really need to keep in mind is if you do sewing as any sort of business, there are going to be a lot of things that you have to do that are not fun, that are something you don't enjoy, something that's very tedious, something that requires a lot of your energy. That's not something you enjoy. So that is something to really keep in mind. All right, we've got Meg's Cat. Hi, love your top, Jen. Thank you. Hello, chat and mods. Yeah, I actually don't have any mods. I will say this. I was thinking about this earlier today. If this thing continues to grow, I may look more into, being a little bit more organized with all of that stuff. And Carmen says, the problem with selling is that we undervalue what our time is worth and we don't charge enough. Okay, I'm kind of with you on this, but I will also say this. You can only charge what people are willing to pay. And I think that's a problem I see with a lot of people who sell handmade items is, while yes, you would have to charge like X amount of dollars to make it worth your time and to pay yourself an hourly wage that makes sense. I think the reality though is that if people aren't if you don't have a market of people willing to pay that price, you're not going to sell anything. So I think that's why for many people, selling handmade items does not make financial sense because, again, you also have to realize you're competing with all the mass-produced fast fashion and, mass-produced items. Again, I did not make this top. I think I got this from, Banana Republic or something. If I were to buy this from someone who made it, they'd probably have to charge me $100, $200. And not everyone can afford that, and not everyone is willing to pay that. So besides you charging prices that are fair to you, you also have to find customers that are willing to pay that. And that's really the luxury consumer, and that's a small group of people. And you're also competing with everyone else that's doing it. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I think that's why marketing and branding is so important when you're selling anything. And a lot of people don't have the marketing skills, don't have the branding skills. So we will talk about that a little bit later. All right, did sewing on the side, built by word of mouth, and ended up with more jobs than I could handle. That's awesome. However, it depends on the type of sewing. I did weddings, and yes, there's a demand for that. I think that's a good thing to bring up because certain types of sewing will get you more money. Bridal formal wear is one of those things. If you're very good at that and you have a good reputation, I think that is one of the areas that you can charge a lot of money because the people that are paying that are brides, bridal parties that are doing it for weddings, and people throw a lot of money at weddings. But versus someone that's making t-shirts and trying to sell them, are a lot of people going to pay $200 for a t-shirt? It depends on the brand, All right, we've got Lyra Stitcher here. My local quilt shop actually shut down during 2020 due to the situation. Yeah, and a lot of businesses did not make it. Sadly, a lot of businesses did not make it out of all the COVID stuff because people's behaviors just really changed. And even now, a lot of businesses are having trouble getting foot traffic because people are so used to staying at home and buying things online now. All right, good question, Manx Cat. Can you write the equipment off as well as your studio space? You can. So I can write off the equipment as a business expense. But again, it also depends on how your business is structured. You really need to talk to a CPA or an accountant about that because it really depends on your situation. So studio space, my accountant does not do that. I operate out of my home and we do not, he does not do, we do not do the home studio write-off. But again, I'm relying on my CPA, my professional. So I would definitely recommend talking, if you're in this situation, you need to talk to an actual professional. So some of it you can't, some of it's kind of dicey. Like, I could technically maybe try to write off, like, getting my hair done, but at the same time, I've also seen there are some rules, like, if you're able to use that whatever it is outside of your business, you know, the IRS may not see that as being like a business expense. So it really kind of, everything kind of depends, and you do really need to consult a professional. Also, I just want to point out, as we get into this, this is not, you know, I don't consider myself like a business expert or anything like that. I'm just sharing my own experiences here. And I also want to say this, I do get people hitting me up about this from time to time. I don't do like one-on-one consultations with people about like business or YouTube or anything like that. I'm just not able to. Even if you're offering to pay, I just don't do it. So if you're watching this and you do find it helpful, I'm very glad. And that's why I wanted to do this show, is to try to help people in a certain way, but I'm not able to do any sort of personal consulting or one-on-one stuff. So I would ask that you don't hit me up for that, because I'm not able to do it. And I don't, you know, I'm not comfortable doing it, even if it, you know, and quite honestly, a lot of the people who do hit me up for that sort of thing, they never offer you to compensate you for your time. So it ends up being kind of a wash. Okay. All right, Manx Cat, it would be nice if there was a co-op for buying power, textiles, and equipment. You know, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. And that's the thing. If you're a small business, you don't have all of the buying power that like a major corporation does, of being able to buy and get like bulk pricing, especially for things like insurance, things like that too. All right, Carmen says, I sew for the joy of it. I made everything from wedding dresses to baby layouts. I can't imagine doing it for money, though, because it would be too stressful. And that's the thing. Like, if you're making things as a gift or like to just give to people, you know, you don't have to worry about them complaining or about everything being perfect. But when you start charging money, it starts to be stressful, because, you know, you want to have a certain level of, you know, quality with those items. And I do feel like that's a good point, that it can be really stressful. It can be really stressful when you're charging people for it. All right. Thank you, Annihilator. Okay, I like that. I agree, Jen. I choose not to sell my handmade garments because of the comparison to fast fashion prices, which is discouraging. Yeah, and that's the thing. There are certain things people are willing to pay a lot of money for, and there are some that aren't. We will talk about that, though. I do think branding has a lot to do with it. So, yeah. Yeah, everyone wants the KFC recipe for free. Yeah, everyone wants, like, It's funny how many people hit you up for, like, free business advice. I'm like, are you kidding? You know? All right, I'm going to get some water real quick. Okay. So, all right, so some things I've kind of said, making money from a sewing hobby, I think for most of us is going to take quite a long time. So it's not something where you just start and the next week you're making, like, and I know we see, like, and by the way, I got to throw some major shade at some of those Etsy build a six-figure business courses and those gurus out there. I'm not going to name any names, but I think a lot of them are full of crap. And I think they're selling people a dream that's not possible for most of us. I've been doing Etsy for about 3 years, and my shop about breaks even. I really don't make money from the shop. I'm glad I'm able to do it. I think it's given me a new perspective, and I think a valuable business perspective. But I don't really make a lot of money from the Etsy shop, especially since I'm sitting on all this inventory. But I've seen all of these people, you know, creating content like that gets a lot of views on YouTube, like, you know, really easy drop shipping Etsy business, or here's how you can make 6 figures on Etsy. And I'm just like, I feel like those people are kind of sketchy. I do not recommend you drop a lot of money on Etsy courses or anything like that. I think there's a lot of free resources out there if you want to grow an Etsy shop or an Etsy based business. but I've seen people selling like there's $1,000 course for everything now. And I'm like, are you, I got to give those people side eye because I don't know. Like if it's like the people selling YouTube courses, like the people that are really killing it with YouTube don't need to sell $1,000 course about like how to YouTube. And I feel like most of the people in a lot of those spaces are kind of like, yeah, I don't know. All right. So another thing I want to talk about is that you're most likely, like if you want to make this like a full-time income, you're probably going to have to do more than one thing. I think most of the people I see doing this do a multitude of things. Like you'll see someone with a social media presence, they got a YouTube channel, they have a fabric line, they sell patterns, they also do teaching and speak at events, that sort of thing. So I do think having multiple sources of income in this small business is probably the thing that'll make it feasible. You can see I do all kinds of things here. And again, I've told you my income. I make significantly less than $50,000 after expenses. And another thing I did, I don't do this anymore, but if you've been following me for a while, I've shared about this for about 3 or 4 years. I actually produced a YouTube channel for a real estate professional. I stopped doing that about a year ago, but that for me was kind of a good stepping stone in having like kind of like a freelance income. I got to use a lot of my YouTube knowledge, and I helped build this person's channel to about 25,000 subscribers. And it was kind of a good stepping stone because now my channel has gotten bigger since we've parted ways. But for a while, like that was bringing in about $1,000 to $2,000 a month in extra income. So it kind of lowered the pressure for me as a content creator because I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. The downside, though, is that there's certainly an opportunity cost. Like, for every minute I spent helping this other person with their YouTube channel, that was a minute less than I was spending on my own YouTube channel and building my own brand. So, in hindsight, I do have some regrets. I think I don't feel like I was charging enough for my time and for the opportunity cost, so that is one thing to keep in mind. And we ended up parting ways about a year ago, and I'm actually very glad. The other thing that happened to me at a personal level is that about a year ago, my husband's car died, and we decided to go down to like a single vehicle household. So it was a lot more difficult for me to be able to like drive to that person's house, shoot the videos, and do like shoots. It required a lot of coordination. But since we've been doing that, like, I kind of found that almost like losing the expenses of having two cars down to just one actually sort of like made up for the difference in the loss of that income because, again, we don't have to pay for like the maintenance, the insurance, the registration, the wear and tear on a second car. Now that we're just using one car, it's actually a bit cheaper. And, I've also noticed that I've been spending less money because, when you're home, I'm not going out, I'm not buying fast food. So there are some trade-offs. And I also think that the amount of money you need to make from a sewing related business is highly dependent on your personal situation. And I think that's something like you can't compare yourself to someone else that's in the same space because you might have completely different financial pictures and their cost of living expenses might be significantly higher or lower than yours. So I think like the goal from you monetizing your sewing really depends on your own situation. Like I'm, in a dual income household, no children, no student loans. In fact, I actually did not become full-time with YouTube until after we paid off all of our student loans because then the amount of income we needed was a lot less because we weren't like, I'm not serious. Our student loan payments were $1,500 per month. So not having that allowed me to be able to do this and not have to worry about generating nearly as much income. So you have to keep in mind your complete financial picture and in determining your goals for your sewing related business. All right, let me get some water real quick. Okay. Okay, one thing I've noticed is that some sewing content creators will link items they're using to Amazon to get some type of commission from it, which I think is smart. And yeah, that's what I do. I am, again, the Amazon affiliate program it's actually gotten worse over the years. The commission rates used to be a lot better. Like it used to be like 8 to 10%, but now it's down to like 3%. So, some people are making a lot of money from the Amazon affiliate program. The ones that are like the larger creators who have very product heavy channels. Think like the tech channels. Think the people that do photography equipment. Like if you're selling a bunch of like $800 cameras or like $1,000 computers, Apple products, that sort of thing, you're going to make a lot more money than someone that's like recommending like $8 sewing notions, that sort of thing. So you can make a significant chunk of change from affiliate programs. It depends on the commission rate and it depends on the products. So it really, but yeah, I would say the Amazon program, unfortunately, it's gotten like worse over the years just because the commission rates are a lot lower. All right, people will tell you whatever they think you want to hear in order to get your money. Yep. Yeah, that's very true. All right, many other countries, sewing is still a skill that is learned. Therefore, supplies and notions are easier to find. We don't make anything here, Seth. Yeah, it is sad that our manufacturing seems to be kind of iffy here. Okay, so the next thing I want to touch on is, all right, we got to talk about social media. So social media, I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about sales and marketing. I hate to say it, but if you are doing any sort of business, it's become sort of a necessary evil to do social media, content creation. Like any business is really a media business, and branding and marketing is how you sell products. So if that's something you hate, that's something you're not willing to do at all, your business is probably not going to make very much money. Or even you selling things is not going to make very much money, like I was touching on earlier. If you're trying to sell $800 quilts, there's probably a very small sliver. And again, that would be a fair price for a quilt. $800, $1,000, $2,000, depending on the quilt. That makes sense from the maker's perspective, but you have to also look at the market for those customers and what they're willing to pay. And if you look at all of the luxury brands out in the world, like Apple selling $1,200 phones. If you look at, like now they got that Vision Pro thing that's like $3,500. If you look at luxury designers, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Dior, what are they selling? They're not selling products that cost $1,000 to make. They have a very high markup. They're selling you the name, and the name has been established with a reputation from marketing and branding. So if you do hope to sell things at a premium and actually get paid well for what you're doing, it's pretty important to develop a name for yourself. Again, this shirt probably cost me like $20. There are people out there, I've seen videos where people are like, yeah, I bought a $900 t-shirt. And I'm like, a $900 t-shirt? How is it any different than a $5 t-shirt? It's really not. This person is paying for the name on the shirt. Whether it's Balenciaga, whether it's, Chanel. Chanel gets away with charging $10,000 for handbags. Now, $10,000. Hermes charges $20,000 for bags. Does that product cost anywhere near that price to manufacture? Absolutely not. But they have spent a lot of money, time, and resources on developing themselves and positioning themselves in the luxury space. So I would say this to anyone who's looking to sell your items. If you want to charge a lot of money for what you're making, you got to develop a name for yourself. And again, if that's not something you're willing to do, you're going to have to be okay with the fact that you are not going to be able to get as much money for what you're selling as the business that does that. Again, do I wish things were different? Absolutely. But we have to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality is that marketing and branding and the positioning of your name brand is how you're able to charge certain prices. Now, all right, let's take a look at this water glass I'm drinking out of. This is from IKEA, and I got like a 6-pack for like $8, something like that. It serves a purpose. It serves as a vessel for putting beverages in so I can drink out of it like this. Now, we've all seen that whole phenomenon with the Stanley cups out there. And it's crazy. Stanley is a brand that's been around forever, known for their quality thermoses with like the, double-walled, vacuum-sealed, insulated cups and thermoses. And through marketing, people are not paying hundreds of dollars for a freaking Stanley tumbler because it's in like some limited edition color. Is that insane? Absolutely. But what Stanley did is they came up with like kind of a shtick, kind of a gimmick. Like, hey, let's take these basic AF tumblers. We'll make them in some fun colors. We'll get them trending on TikTok, and people will pay $200 for a Stanley cup on eBay. In fact, I saw some ridiculous story the other day of a teenager whose parents have spent $3,000 on different Stanley cups in different colors to match all of our outfits. I was like, that's like insane, but it's smart. And now people are just going in, people are waiting in line for hours outside of a Target to buy certain limited edition cups. Now, what they did was interesting because, all right, so they made these limited edition colors that everyone's going crazy over, and they made a limited amount so you get like that perceived scarcity out of the whole thing. And then you add in social media virality, and the whole phenomenon has just kind of, gone wild. So I think that's one good example of a company doing some smart marketing. So if you want to have a successful business, you're most likely going to have to come up with some good marketing and branding strategies to get your name out there, to develop a reputation. And if that's something you really hate the idea of or you're not willing to do, I see a lot of people be like, I don't want to do social media. Like, look, that's fine. If you don't want to do social media, that's up to you. But do you want to make money? Because if you want to maximize your business potential, whoever actually does maximize the social media potential is going to be the one that wins out. So that's all I will say. That's what I will say on that. Yeah, look at what a long arm charges. Easy to spend $300 to quilt your work. And here's the thing. I think one thing about that is that there aren't that many long armers out there. So like they can kind of charge there really aren't that many that do it, develop a reputation for it. Also, the entry into that business has a fairly high cost because long arm machines are expensive. Yeah, the Stanley Cup thing, I'm like, what the freak? Like, I have a cup I got from like Walmart or something a few years ago. Does the same thing. I think it was like $10. So what's the difference between like the $10 Walmart tumbler and the $35 Stanley Cup? Not just a name. That's literally it. Yeah, the Stanley Cup thing is like I'm like, this is wild. Yeah. And like, I think they also had that viral video of that lady that had the car fire and the Stanley Cup still had like ice water in it. I mean, that you cannot pay for that kind of advertising. It's just crazy. Oh, now they have Hello Kitty goldfish crackers that are strawberry flavor. Okay, I kind of want. And that's the thing, like, Will people pay a certain amount of money for goldfish crackers? Yes. You slap Hello Kitty on it, people, you slap Taylor Swift's name on and picture on stuff. You slap BTS on something. You can tell I'm a super fan here. So the branding makes a big difference. I can, if this shirt said Chanel on it, it would probably be $3,000. Same material, it's just a different brand name. So if you are hoping to kind of do your own sewing related business and you want to make a lot of money doing it and be successful, the branding, marketing, social media stuff is all kind of a necessary evil. And if you want to opt out of it, you can. But why would you not want to try? That's all I'll say. Why would you not want to try to do it? Because if you're doing this to pay your bills, that will only help you. That will only help you. Yeah, all right, we got Denise in the house. My godmother just sells at craft fairs and minus the cost of the table, $200, makes enough to buy more materials. She's retired, so that's fine. It's just a hobby. And that's the thing. If you're just doing it as a hobby and you don't care how much money you make, I think that's totally fine. You don't. And again, that's why it depends on each individual situation. Some people would need to make more than that in order for it to be worthwhile. Other people don't need to make any money from it. They also might have a spouse that subsidizes that, their lifestyle, so they don't really need to worry about it. They might be a trust fund kid. Everyone's situation is different, and you can't compare yourself to other people in this space because, everyone has different financial pictures, and I think it's kind of counterproductive to be like, look at that person over there and comparing yourself to them, because you should really only be looking at what you're doing, how you can make your business better. And if you need the money to pay your bills, then you might have to put more work and effort and creativity into your business, more effort into the marketing, more hustle than the person that's doing it as a hobby because they're retired. Okay, so another aspect that I think gets overlooked is that operating a business requires you to become well-versed in different aspects of the business. And what I'm talking about here is things like bookkeeping, keeping track of your finances, taxes, knowing everything about your local and state and federal business requirements. Do you need a license to operate? Do you need to pay business taxes? I had to look into all of that when I was doing this and starting the Etsy shop. I have to have I do QuickBooks. I have to pay a CPA every year. And all of that is part of operating the business. So I've seen people, and this is kind of unfortunate, I've seen people who want the fun parts of the business, I'm going to start an Etsy shop and just make stuff. But then they don't understand anything about taxes, and they don't get that when the tax man comes for them, it was their responsibility to understand all of that, and they didn't. So if you are trying to do this as a business, it's the responsibility is on you to understand all of those things. There's going to be a lot of not fun stuff you have to do. If you saw all the stuff I had to do that's not sewing, do video editing, a bunch of computer stuff, moderating comments, email stuff, a lot of the stuff I do in connection to this YouTube content creation thing is very tedious. It's not fun, doing all the banking stuff. There's all kinds of stuff that you're going to have to do that's just not very much fun. Doing all the QuickBooks reconciliation stuff, taxes, I have to fill out these quarterly tax forms with my, with the state of Florida. You have to look up all of the business regulations in your area. And here's the thing, the penalty, and I see this with a lot of younger, Etsy sellers. I've seen them on Reddit. And it's they saw Etsy as a fun thing to do, or adult stuff. And that's the thing. I'm here to tell you, not to be harsh, but the adult stuff with running a business is not optional. It's mandatory. And there could be penalties if you don't do that, especially if you don't, like, the tax man is not somebody you want to piss off. Let me just say that. All right. It sounds like building a business and selling items needs to be as fun as making the items. And that's the thing. It's not. It's just not. If you enjoy, and a lot of people don't enjoy bookkeeping. They don't enjoy doing tax stuff. They don't enjoy doing all of the computer work. Like whenever I even set up a live stream, I have to do a bunch of stuff on the back end in order to make it happen. Oh, also, I have to do graphic design. I design my own thumbnails, do all of my own, I have to be a photographer. I had to teach myself video editing. So I had to acquire a lot of skills I did not have before in order to even be moderately successful on YouTube. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm telling you, is that if you just want to sew for fun and you don't want all of the stresses and the headaches and all of the tedious work that running a sewing or content creation business involves, I would just do it for fun. You don't have to have a YouTube, if you don't need the money or you make money doing something else, you really don't need to be doing this as a business. Again, if you want to maybe do an Etsy shop as a hobby or do a YouTube channel as a hobby, I think that's totally fine. But you also have to keep in mind you cannot expect business results from a hobby effort. So if you're just doing YouTube and you're uploading random videos that you just like to make, you don't understand the YouTube platform and you're not trying to optimize your videos, you can't expect viral videos from that. Again, if you're getting 50 views per video and you don't care, that's fine. But if you want to get 100,000 views on each video, you're probably going to have to put more work into all of it and treat it as a job, not treating it as a hobby. Okay. All right. And real talk here, I will say this. Being a self-employed, also, there are way more taxes when you're self-employed in the United States than there are if you work for an employer. Because you have to pay, there's actually self-employment tax, and it's a lot. It's 16%. So you have to do that. I will also say this, being self-employed or having your own business means you don't really have income stability. Your income can fluctuate widely. You also don't get benefits from an employer, so you have to buy those separately. You have to buy your own health insurance. So there are a lot of costs that come from being self-employed or having your own business that you just don't have to worry about if you are a regular W-2 employee. So can running a business be very rewarding? And absolutely, but there's a lot of headache involved. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people are not cut out for running a business. And I think that's totally fine because other businesses need employees. They need, and you could earn a lot of money working for someone else. I could probably make more money. I saw an article this week. Walmart is paying managers $120,000 a year. That's nothing to sneeze at all. Is working at Walmart fun? Probably not, but that's a pretty good salary. You can make really good money working for another business and contributing that way. So again, not everybody needs to be a CEO. This whole I feel like this whole you need to start a company hustle thing is kind of weird. Because I don't think most people would be great at operating a business. Yeah, I prefer to optimize crafting in my PJs. And I do wear my PJs most of the time. So you can't, but yeah, you can, if you just want to have fun and do this as a hobby, do it as a hobby. I can see where a craft fair might be fun because you meet people, but getting someone to come in for a dress and managing the expectation that it will cost more than $60 is hard. Yeah, and a lot of people, we've run into this, a lot of us have run into this where people just don't understand the cost of making things by hand in a developed country. They expect the overseas prices with stuff like that. How long does it take to make a profit? It depends on you. It depends on your business. It depends on a lot of things. So, a lot of businesses actually never become profitable. Did you know that? A lot of restaurants never make a profit. My husband worked in the restaurant industry a lot of them never actually really end up making money. I also heard a term recently. There's something called zombie companies. They're companies that only exist because they take out a lot of debt, but they're not profitable. And if they weren't able to take out all of these lines of credit, they wouldn't be able to continue to operate. So a lot of businesses don't have any cash. They're deeply in debt. We've already seen this with JOANN's. So a lot of businesses, even large companies, are not profitable. I also saw this, I used to work in the media industry. A lot of these like media companies like BuzzFeed, like Vice News, a lot of them weren't profitable and they burned through all this investor money and they never made any money. So that's why a lot of these digital media outlets don't end up really making it. Oh yeah, insurance. A lot of businesses require you to have some type of insurance. Also, if you're making any like children or babies items, or like things like candles, those are highly regulated and you need to have like consumer product safety testing and stuff. So like if you're trying to sell anything meant for kids or babies, there are a lot of government regulations that you need to follow. So you need to keep that in mind too. All right, we've got Lisa in the house. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us. All the social media influencers make it look so easy to make money. It takes hard work in reality. Yep. Ran a construction for 20 years. There was always some new taxes and regulations popping up. Yeah. And like with YouTube, there's always something we have to like worry about. Like also, a lot of YouTubers run into copyright issues. So you have to kind of be well versed on that stuff. So there's a lot of things that you need to, like running a business there's just so many cogs in the wheel. You know what I'm saying? You look for grants. I mean, if you can, I don't think there are any grants for YouTubers, but if you hear of any, you might, there might be some for some like small businesses in your area or maybe like small business loans. I would say though, I did not build this small business on debt. I would not really promote that. Like I wouldn't like mortgage your house or take out a big loan to start a business. I would actually start like kind of small. If it requires you borrowing a lot of money to start, I probably wouldn't recommend that in most situations. All right, we got another Tampa person. Hello from Tampa, Florida. I have a sewing and embroidery machine, but I also knit. And I don't like when people ask me, how long did it take you to make that load? Yeah. Or it's like, they also a lot of people like think they're complimenting you, but then they're like, oh, I saw one at Walmart for $50. And I'm like, oh geez, like, thanks for that. Yeah, another thing. Yeah, it's a good point, Carmen. I'm self-employed and my job is more than 40 hours a week. I work 7 days. I pretty much work 7 days a week. So I work way more than 40 hours a week. And I don't make that much money. I've already told you. I make less than $50,000, especially when you account for all of my expenses. A lot of people are like, I want to be self-employed or own my own business for freedom and flexibility. And if you want to build something and you have the pride in doing that, I think that's totally awesome. But I would not get into being self-employed or starting a business with the expectation that you can work like not a lot of hours. You're gonna, like, if you want anything to be successful, you're probably gonna have to put in 60 to 80 hours a week for quite some time before you make any money from it. Again, attorney, contracts, there's all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with. So there are a lot of, like, that's the thing, there are a lot of costs. There's a lot of things you need to really educate yourself on if you're thinking about doing this as a business. And if you're just doing it as a hobby, like, say you make a few things a year and you sell it to friends kind of like for cash. Again, very low stress situation. If you do a few craft fairs a year for fun, that might be more of the ticket there. I'm going to get some water real quick. All right. Just like a personal anecdote, I'll say this. I was talking to someone kind of recently, not in the same niche or anything, but I was talking about YouTube with them. They're like, they kind of have a smaller channel, and they were telling me that they were really hoping that they could make YouTube their full-time job and be able to quit their job. Now, I respect this person. I think they put out good videos, and I think it would be possible for them to, be successful in the YouTube community. Now, here's the thing. This person is a very high income individual. They make well over 6 figures, I think, in a corporate job. For them to be able to make that same kind of money on YouTube is probably going to take a very long time. So it depends. I think if you're trying to do like YouTube or Etsy as a job, I think if you're someone that makes a lot of money already in a regular job or in a high profile profession, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you make over 6 figures, the thought of you being able to replace that income from a small Etsy business or like a YouTube channel is going to be a lot more difficult than someone that, say, maybe they're like a stay-at-home parent and they're just trying to generate some extra money, period, but they don't rely on that. Or someone who's a teenager or someone who's a college student that is not having to replace a high income with a small business. So while I really wish the best for the person I was talking to, I was like, man, they're making a lot of money in their day job. I would probably just do, if I was them, I would probably just do YouTube as a hobby. So again, nice to have, but like, and again, they seemed very dedicated to doing it and had a lot of passion. So is it possible for them to be a 6-figure YouTube creator? Absolutely. Will it probably take a long time? Also, yes. And I think if your expectations from owning your own business or from like something like YouTube or social media influencing are fairly low and a little like not, like you only need to make $1,000 a month, I think the reality of you being able to reach that goal and the possibility is probably a lot higher because you don't have to make a ton of money to make it work. So I think it really depends on, how much you need to make in order to pay your bills and sustain your lifestyle. So that's why I think it's very highly dependent upon your personal situation. Another thing I can tell you from personal experience is managing your time is very difficult. It needs to be a priority, especially if you are a solo operation. And the other thing that can be very stressful, but you need to develop is customer service and dealing with customers and dealing with viewers or followers if you're on social media. That can be pretty stressful. So just something I've noticed as like the YouTube channel, like the main YouTube channel grew, I started getting like more people coming out of the woodwork and wanting to talk to me and wanting to pick my brain, like, hey, can you jump on a phone call with me? Or, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do this with me? And I will tell you this, I didn't do a very good job of this in the beginning. And I kind of let people walk all over me, and I didn't set up a lot of personal boundaries. Looking back on it now, I will recommend this to any of you watching. You absolutely need to set healthy personal and professional boundaries for yourself, for your peace of mind, and to make sure that you're actually focused on your business. Because it's so easy to get distracted and to let people kind of like get you to like stray away from your mission. So I will say this, and this might make me seem like kind of an asshole, and that's fine, is that I say no to I don't respond to a lot of inquiries now via like DM, email, that sort of thing. And I've kind of had to do that as I've grown as a content creator because, okay, for a few reasons. One, it takes up way too much time. Like, I would get people sending me emails, or even like, this even happened today. People sent me and I've tried to gently tell people like, hey, I can't give people one-on-one individual attention. And I've gotten a lot of like businesses that are like, hey, we'd love to talk to you about marketing or whatever. I don't do that either. And I mentioned earlier in this stream, I just don't do one-on-one consults, and I'm not able to do anything with people one-on-one. I have to be extremely selective about that. And for the most part, the answer is a no. And that's because for a few reasons. It's just, for everyone's like, oh, it only take you 5 minutes or 10 minutes of your time. If you add up enough of those situations, you've lost a lot of your time. And as a business owner or as a content creator, time is your most important asset, and you need to be very protective of it. And I've noticed there are just a lot of people that will come out, especially if you get like moderately successful, and they will not respect your time. They will not respect your personal boundaries. They will not be understanding. And you know what? That's their problem. That's not yours. So I generally don't answer back when people email or like DM and stuff, especially like not. And like, that's the thing. I've had to put in the Etsy shop greeting, like, hey, if you please don't message me for stuff that's not about the Etsy shop. And somebody did that to me today. And I kind of write like an auto reply. I'm like, hey, I appreciate you reaching out, but this is not the place for it. Please leave a YouTube comment. And they got like mad at me, and I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? So you'll start getting more and more of those people if you have any level of success with whatever you're doing. And the best thing I can tell you is that, one, don't worry as much about being liked. Like, I think being liked by everyone is totally overrated. And I think the people that put themselves in those situations where they're a people pleaser and they never say no to anybody, they tend to really suck at business because they let people too easily lead them away from what they're doing. The other thing is this, like, especially with things like people will like, and like the things people reach out with, like, it's not like something I can answer real quickly. They'll write me like a whole novel, like, I'm in this, and it's for a very specific situation, and it's not something that would take a significant amount of time to really get into to effectively help them. And I just can't do it. Like, that's why I make these videos, is to help people more at scale. And I'm just, as a solo operator, I just can't offer that to people. Like, even if they offered to pay me, chances are they wouldn't even offer enough compensation where it would be like worth it to me. But being protective over your time and energy is probably the most important thing you can do for yourself if you are a solo operator. So, hey, and when I was first getting into it, I would answer back with emails and stuff. Now I'm like, look, I've closed a lot of my DMs. I don't answer DMs generally. If you do want to get in touch with me, I've given everyone a chance now. Like I say, like, hey, I do these live streams. If you want to get your questions answered by me, that's one of the reasons why I do these live streams, is so that you have the opportunity to do that. But, but also doing that has benefit to everyone. It has benefit to me because this is part of the show, has benefit to the other viewers because maybe that's a question they had as well, and it's gotten answered. But when people do like demand and feel entitled to like one-on-one attention, I feel like it's kind of a selfish thing, and it's kind of a jerk. I feel like they're kind of the assholes, you know what I'm saying? Because they're like, like they're treating me like I'm their personal assistant or something. And it's like usually stuff that's like, one, it would take me a while to like really answer. It's like, what sewing machine should I get? I'm like, look, I've made a lot of videos about sewing machines. I don't give recommendations because I just am not comfortable doing that. Or they'll be like, I've seriously gotten messages where someone will send me a bunch of pictures of their sewing machine and want like me to troubleshoot for them. I'm like, I don't do that. I'm not a sewing machine tech. And the fact that people are asking that, I feel is pretty rude and disrespectful. So I know this is kind of getting a little ranty, but I'm like the person today, I'm like, get out of town, and they're like, well, here's the thing. They knew that I don't like that. And they're like, I know you said not to, but the person always thinks they're the exception to the rule. And that's why I don't really respond. I don't answer them. Like, I don't give them what they're looking for because, it's almost like feeding the trolls. Like, I live in Florida. There are some alligators. And if you go to places where alligators, tend to frequent, like ponds and stuff, you'll see signs everywhere that say don't feed the alligators. And the reason for that is that if you keep feeding the alligators, they will come back, and you don't want that. So if people reach out, and I've set up my boundaries. Like I said, hey, if you want to get your questions answered, if you leave a comment on the video, that's the best thing you can do. And I try to answer comments that I can, like, sometimes people also answer questions that, like, I've answered in other videos. So I'm like, look, I'm not going to hold people's hands here. If I've answered it in a video, they can find the video. I don't really want to foster a community of helpless people, though. So if that's, I just don't like that vibe. I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like, I've made hundreds of videos answering questions and, showing people how to do stuff. I feel like at some point the responsibility is on you to, like, do your own research. But, like, yeah, I've tried to say, like, hey, you guys need to stop DMing me pictures of your sewing machines and asking me to, like, solve your technical issue. I just can't do that. I feel like that's kind of rude. And I'm not going to baby people here, because I feel like you're going to get more of that type of behavior. So I also don't really respond, or, like, I really don't interact with trolls here, just because it's just, I feel like it's just not, like, a waste of time. So, all right, let's read some of the comments here. Yeah, in business, time is money. And the more time you give people, like, you're taking money away from yourself for every minute you do that. And that's the thing, like, these people that are emailing me and wanting me to, like, spend 2 hours talking to them, like, they're taking money away from me. I don't know, they might not realize that. But if I'm spending 2 hours, like, messaging with someone, like, they're literally taking money out of my own pocket, because I'm not editing a video. I'm not working on the Etsy shop. I'm not doing stuff that generates income for me, Yeah, they waste your time and therefore waste your money. Yeah, oh boy. People would bring their machines into JOANN's and ask you how to wind a bobbin and thread their machine, really. That's the thing, like, with the internet and with YouTube and with all of the free resources, I feel like there's not a lot of excuses for people not to be able to, like, attempt to do that on their own. Yeah, again, this is exactly why I do not make specific machine recommendations. I think it's just too personal of a decision. And I would have to ask them a bunch of questions, like, to be, like, find out what they're using it for, what their preferences are. And even then, it's still, like, not enough to be able to make a good recommendation, Yeah, some people are very, like, this person was very, I was like, I just kind of was like, whatever, I'm done with you, Yeah, not ranty. It sounds like when I'm asked to hem jeans for free. No, yeah. People, like, I don't think a lot of people understand a lot of the social etiquette or, manners, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree with Rebecca. Sewing machines are such a personal decision. It totally depends on what you want to sew, the level of tech you want, etc. And here's the thing, even then, like, you might just not like a machine. Like, on paper, it might be perfect. And then when you actually use the machine, you might not like it. So, like, I can get all the information I can, and you still might not like the machine. And I don't really want to be responsible or liable for people being like, well, Jen told me to buy this machine and I hate it, So that's why I really don't do that. Yeah, when it doesn't turn out, they want someone to blame. People always want someone else to blame for their situation. It's really crazy. I shake my head and laugh when people act like they are doing me a favor, but letting me sew something for them. I know, right? Yeah, I've gotten that too. And I'm like, also people, it's funny, like, people I know in real life, they don't really understand, like, how the money aspect works with YouTube. So they've asked me to sew things for them, and they think they're helping me out somehow financially. And I'm like, I don't make money. I really don't make money sewing things for people. I make money through videos and content about sewing. So, like, not really. What I will do, though, like, I'm planning to do some more embroidery videos with certain types of items. Like, I'm going to do baby onesies, and I know someone who just had a baby, so I'm planning on making some personalized items for her. But here's the thing, she didn't ask, I offered. I said, hey, I'm going to do some baby items. Is this something you want? Because I don't like to make things if I don't have a use for them, and I don't have a baby because I'm child free. So at least in this situation, you know, everybody wins. I get content for the channel, and then she gets free baby stuff. But she wasn't the one asking me. I was the one saying, hey, you know, I know you had a baby. You know, I'd like to do these things, you know, so I'm going to do some personalized items, but it's because I wanted to do them and because I actually needed somebody to take these items once I'm done with them. So, because I have no use for baby onesies here at the house. I could try to put them on the rabbit, but that probably wouldn't go very well. So it's pretty like crazy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If I tried to give people like sewing technical help, that's the thing. I don't do that sort of thing for liability reasons, like, because then they would blame you when they couldn't get it to work. It's really pretty crazy. All right, Brenda says, embroidery like monograms or personalized gifts is the only hobby I can say you can make money. Knitting and making bags are very difficult to make money on. Yeah, I think sometimes like some items, and here's the thing though, even with things like embroidery, you know, if you're doing it as like a decent sized business, you have to invest in a machine that's pretty expensive. Even an entry level embroidery machine is not cheap. Yeah, Nancy, I agree. I think most people are better off just sewing for yourself, sewing for your own enjoyment, and doing gifts. But I think doing it as a business, I think is probably not for most people. And that's why I'm here to tell you, I'm giving you permission not to monetize your sewing hobby. Keep it as a hobby. Keep it as something you like. You don't need to, you really don't need to monetize it, especially if you know, and if you need to make money, there are a lot of other ways you can make money easier and make more money than from a sewing business. All right, Jamie says, Jen, do you have an Amazon storefront that has any of your YouTube equipment, sewing equipment, etc.? I do, actually, and I think I've linked it. You know, I have linked it. I have a, here's the thing though. I try not to hawk all of my equipment because honestly, people really don't click on that stuff. I do have an Amazon storefront, but I really try not to promote that too much because here's the thing, most people coming to the sewing videos are not content creators. But you know, I will link it down in the description box maybe after this is over. But it's like kit.co/sewing report, something like that. And I do have a bunch of different like affiliate like little shops here or whatever. I'll link it in the chat here if you want to check it out. I have a bunch of different like categories, like YouTube filming gear, dressmaking supplies, beginner sewing stuff. So if you do want to check it out, you're welcome to. It's kit.co/sewing report, and you can see all of the different categories I have. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I will say I'm gonna do an update video on the Sketch. I've had a lot of people commenting saying they want to like use it as a small business like machine, and I don't really think that's a good idea. So I don't. Yeah. Sandy says, I love making gifts for people, no pressure. Exactly. If you're giving it to someone for free and as a gift, you know, like they're not going to complain to you about it if it's a free gift. So everyone wants everything for so cheap, it's not worth it. Yeah, I think the businesses selling handmade items are some of the most difficult. I also think quilt shops or physical storefronts are very difficult in this climate. Oh, all right, we got Eva. Okay, you got me stuck on the K-drama. Okay, Eva, what are you watching? Because we'll talk about some K-dramas later on. Which K-dramas have you gotten into? Yeah. All right, Carmen says, I've been working on a velvet dress for a 6-month-old all week. I would make 0 on this. It's a gift. Yeah, I mostly enjoy sewing projects as gifts. I don't, it's like, because that's the thing. It's like the minute you charge money for it, is when like that customer can be kind of, you know, it's like they can't be difficult if you're not charging them for it. That's what I think. Oh yeah, my man. Okay, I just finished My Man is Cupid. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the show. I was very satisfied with the drama overall. And even though it was kind of a mishmash of like different genres, somehow I felt it kind of worked. So I'm very glad you like it. That's actually, I thought it was a really good show. All right, Jill Burt says, people ask if I can make them a queen quilt for $100. Oh boy. I have a cost analysis sheet from Molly Sparkles. Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah, that was a good sheet. Fill it out and show them. It'll be $750. All right. Jamie says, thank you. I will check it out. I'm planning to start some video shorts on Instagram for my Etsy shop. That's awesome. Yeah, let me know what your Etsy shop is. And Jamie, what are you planning to start selling? And maybe even some YouTube videos. So thank you for posting that. Okay, and also, I'll say this on the YouTube front. While I don't personally do like YouTube consulting or anything, there are three people. There are a lot of like YouTube gurus out there. I will write down the names of the three people that I most would recommend. All right, Sean. All right, these are the people that I actually trust and feel present like really good information. There are a lot of people out there. These are the three people that I would say that I would recommend you follow and learn from in regards to YouTube education. And they are Roberto Blake, Sean Cannell, he has a company called Think Media, and Daryl Eves. Okay, so these three, I've gotten to know Roberto and Sean on more of a personal level. I think they're great people, very good. And all three of these people are very good people. So they have integrity. They're not like snake oil salesmen. Even though, funny enough, Roberto gets accused of that all the time, and it's like just laughable. Roberto is like a good friend of mine. Sean is awesome. I'm supposed to be speaking to a group, like a live training with Sean this week. So that'll be awesome. But these three people I would recommend. I think Roberto has really good information on building a business and the monetization. And he's also very realistic with his advice. It's not like, pie in the sky dreams. It's very, very, I think it's very, he offers some very like startling statistics. He's great to follow. And he just has very realistic numbers. Sean is great for a lot of the like making the YouTube video itself. Like he has tips on gear. He has tips on how to create the video. And he also has some, and all of these people have like paid and free products. Daryl Eves is sort of like the YouTube algorithm guy, and he knows a lot about the algorithm. He works with Mr. Beast. He's worked with a lot of very large creators on the platform. So those are the three people I personally would recommend based on my own experience. So, but I don't do, like that's the thing. I don't need to do like YouTube consulting because there are plenty of other people out there that do it. All right, I'm going to take some water real quick. All right, we've got Anita here. She says, I like doing creative mending and alterations for extra cash, and I've even done prom and bridal, but I'm picky about who I take as clients. Yeah, friends and friends of friends. Yeah, I think, and here's something I've noticed, like the most pain in the ass people will be like your worst clients. The best clients, the ones that will like actually spend money with you, are the ones that are not difficult. So I think it's okay for you to fire customers or fire prospective customers because some people are just crazy. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, Anita, I spent the 80s and 90s doing that. Day job was a tailor. It's very, very difficult to please people or their expectations. People are just insane. And I feel like it's gotten, I don't know if it's gotten worse, but maybe with social media and everything going viral, I just think people have gotten more difficult and like more entitled. It's super crazy. Like the person that was messaging me today, I was like, are you off your rocker? And they were saying they were having a difficulty leaving a YouTube comment. So that's why they're like, I know you said not to message you here, but I was having trouble leaving a YouTube comment. I'm like, look, the fact that you are not tech savvy and could not figure out the YouTube comment tech, how is that my responsibility? Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, how is it my responsibility? And you feel like you need to message me one-on-one. You really did not need to do that. And like, here's the thing. The people that always do this to me, they're not people like you. They're not people that watch all the streams and I recognize from the comments. It's always someone that I don't recognize. So they're clearly not really like they're probably not like a longtime viewer, and they usually will say that like, oh, I saw a couple of your videos. So they're not a longtime viewer or subscriber. It's like just somebody who like feels like they're entitled to somebody else's time for no good reason. So I don't know. All right, Jules is here. It would be a real shame if Joann goes under. It would be. And I know we've been talking about this the last few months and stuff. And I really hope that Joann's can figure out what the F is going on, turn things around, maybe try to make some improvements. Am I wishing for too much? Maybe. But I think a lot of us have realized that if Joann's does not exist, our options for in-person shopping are going to be very limited, and I think that would be a very bad thing. So, all right, I'm going to get some water real quick. All right, so I think I've touched on most of the points I wanted to about monetizing your sewing hobby, but those are just some things that I wanted to share from my own perspective as someone that has been self-employed for the past 6 years. And if you have any questions, you know, we'll take a few minutes. If you have questions for me specifically that you think I can answer, that's what I'm here for. So feel free to drop them in the chat here, and we'll try to get to those. And then we'll also move on, and then after that, we'll move on to some other topics as well. If you're watching this on the replay, you're also welcome to try to leave questions in the comments, and if I can answer them, I'll try to answer them. And you know, here's the thing: like to the people that are messaging me demanding like one-on-one time, I offer this avenue as a place where you can get your questions, you can ask anything you want. But these people don't take, that's the thing, they could have taken advantage of this, but they didn't. So, you know, that's on them. But, you know, I've kind of made the decision as a content creator. I don't hold people's hands, and I'm not going to baby that. You know what I mean? Like, you're an adult. Act like an adult. You know, I just don't, I have very little patience for those types of people. And if they don't want to follow me because of that, that's fine. Because I want an adult audience here that can act like adults, not people that want to be treated like small children. So, I don't know. I was a little bit annoyed by that. And here's the thing that happens like quite frequently to me. And I'm also really sick of the businesses that try to hit me up for free consults too. Like, just GTFO. Seriously, GTFO on that nonsense right here. All right. Yeah, some parents are quite rude. Some people in general are quite rude. That's all I got to say. Yeah. I went to my Joann's yesterday and noticed there were a lot of blank spaces, especially the Cricut aisle. It's such a bummer. Yeah, I don't know what's like. I've noticed on the comments of the Joann's video as I've been uploading, people are reporting back on their local stores, and it sounds like a hot mess. A lot of the locations, with like inventory all over the place, you know, the store is not being staffed very well. It's just pretty crazy, you know. Oh, and there, yeah, shipping issues between the Suez and Panama Canal. Yeah, pretty crazy here. All right, I'm gonna mute myself because I got to cough real quick. But yeah, last chance, last call out here, you know. Last call over here. If you have questions about business, content creation, Etsy shop, anything, leave it here and I'll try to answer. I'm going to mute myself real quick. Okay. All right, good question here from Annihilator. What motivates you to continue to be a content creator? I just like making the videos. I enjoy all of this. I feel like this is the perfect work situation for me. I can work from home. It's very flexible time-wise. I work a lot, but I can work whatever hours I want. So I typically stay up really late. I've always loved the medium of video. Like, it's something since I was a kid. I wanted to be like a movie director, and I would make a lot of videos like, I would make a lot of like crazy like concepts. I don't know. I've always wanted to work in some form of television or broadcasting. I enjoy sewing. I thought this would be a good mixture of the two. I also have tons of other channel ideas like that are totally unrelated. And I wish I had the time for some of these other ideas. Like, I would love to have like just a channel to talk about K-dramas, but I also have to really be pretty judicious with time. And I'm just not really able to, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, you know, I'm glad I do these channels. I enjoy doing the live streaming, and, you know, I can come up with video ideas all day long. I think the hard part is the execution. You only have so much time in the day. I also love video editing. I love shooting the videos. I enjoy all of the aspects of being a YouTube creator. And, you know, and I do think this is the future. I think new media, I think social media has really allowed anybody with the drive and with the passion and just the willingness to try it out. This is like, the barrier to entry is so low on YouTube. I mean, all you need is a phone to get started. Everything is free to upload, and you can get paid by YouTube if you're making content people want to watch. So I love YouTube. I love making videos, and I've really enjoyed live streaming the past year or so. And I feel like this is a pretty good show format. So I think this is kind of how we'll continue to do things, is do a few different topics, and then I'll break down clips for, you know, separate uploads. Because I understand some people might not want to watch like a 2-hour live stream, but they might want to watch a 20-minute segment about, you know, JOANN Fabrics. So I like to offer people different viewing options. And I also have I used to be a news producer. So I think the producer mindset also makes me really enjoy YouTube. Okay, here we go. All right, yeah, lots of JOANN's. Yeah, everyone has a lot of opinions about JOANN's. All right, I want to become a content creator in the sewing community, so it's nice to hear your input because I see you've been doing this for a while, and I love the quality you put in your videos. Thank you. I would tell you this. Those guys I mentioned above, follow all of them and learn. It's going to take you, if you want to be like a content creator that does this for a living, it's going to take you probably like a couple years. I would do this on the side if you have like a day job, or if you're a student or anything. Do YouTube on the side, but treat it like a job. Like, put in 40 hours a week. Like, you know, if you get home, make videos. Try to do whatever you can to make good videos people want to watch and grow on YouTube and grow on social media. It is very challenging, but it's definitely possible. You just have to, you really can't expect immediate success from it. This is something that's going to take probably 2 to 3 years before you're making like notable money. You know, and even for me, it's pretty difficult. I make less money now than I did as a news producer, but I also enjoy this situation a lot more. And I also like that, I call all the shots, and that all of the success, like financially, will come back to me and not an employer. So that's why I like doing it. But yeah, if you guys have questions about YouTube or just business in general, last chance, last call here, and then we will move on to talking about, you know, our favorite topic here. All right. And here's another thing I'll say. I see a lot of people who want the benefits of like being an entrepreneur or being a business owner, but people have all sorts of excuses. Like, they'll say, oh, I wish I could do that, but I don't have time, or I wish I could do that, but, you know, like, I don't have time is a very common excuse. But then I also see those same people spending 3 hours a day watching Netflix, or spending all of their weekends going out partying with friends, or drinking, or like whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of those activities, but I'm also saying if you really have a goal, the goal is going to require sacrifice. So I really try to limit my non-productive activities. And again, I'll watch a K-drama as I'm laying in bed or while I'm eating or something, but if you have a goal and you want to be like a full-time content creator, cut out the non-productive crap, cut out the Netflix, cut out the mindless scrolling on social media. I honestly don't understand why people spend so much time scrolling Instagram or like Twitter if they're not using it for like professional or educational purposes. Like, I just don't get that. Again, I know we like to have entertainment, we like to have community, but I see a lot of people saying I don't have time, but then wasting time on a bunch of other meaningless stuff when they could be using that time to further themselves and build something. So build something on the side. And here's the thing, even if YouTube becomes a side hustle, say you get a 9-to-5 job and then you're making an extra $1,000 a month on YouTube, that's good. Like, even if you could say monetize your sewing as a side hustle, that's money you wouldn't have otherwise. It gives you more financial cushion and you can continue to grow it, and it's something you own. So that's what I got to say. All right. Jen, would you say you make a livable wage? It's hard to say. I think it depends on what that means to you, what your cost of living, your expenses. My expenses are fairly low. I live in again, we purchased our house before prices went crazy. So my housing costs are relatively reasonable. We no longer have any student loan debt. But I mentioned this earlier, I make less than $50,000 a year, especially when you consider all of my business expenses. So like, I'm not making six figures. This is not super lucrative. I probably would consider myself more like middle class, working class YouTube. And again, there are a lot of people in that boat. I think people tend to look at YouTubers and only see people like Mr. Beast making millions of dollars a year and not really seeing the people that kind of make like a modest income from YouTube. How many machines do you own solely for work? I would say honestly only like 3 at this point, maybe. I would say the brother, I probably own like 6 or... Let's see, how many do I own total? 1, 2... 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, I probably own like 8 sewing machines. The ones I purchased solely for the channel would be the Brother PE 900. I wouldn't have purchased that if I didn't have a YouTube channel. The Brother Sketch, wouldn't have purchased that if not for the YouTube channel. And I would say probably the Brother CS 7000i that I featured in a lot of videos. I wanted to feature like a beginner entry-level sewing machine that was easy to use and not super expensive. So probably those 3 are the ones I purchased like kind of for the channel. Did you get the Ditto? Yes, I did. I've been kind of slacking. I haven't opened the Ditto, but I do have the Ditto. So you will be seeing some videos on that. I just got to get my butt in gear. I've been kind of procrastinating on that. So again, to answer the living wage question, it really depends on the situation. And that's why I think you can't really compare yourself to other people, because what you need to live on might not be what the next person does. All right, you bring out a good point as well. It's hard to cut out social media completely as a content creator, because wouldn't you want to utilize those platforms to boost yourself overall? Now, here's the thing. If you're using social media for your own content, that's totally fine. What I'm really referring to is like the people that kind of doom scroll are just like consume the content, but they're not like creating the content. So I think if you're using, and again, I think you can use YouTube for like if you're using YouTube for educational purposes, like to learn how to edit or to learn how to sew things, that's that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are just being on social media to be on social media with zero purpose, or like the people that are just on Twitter to fight with people, but they're not using it to like network or connect with people. They're just using it to like endlessly, mindlessly scroll. I feel like a lot of people have a social media addiction. And I would also say this, if you're just using social media as like mindless entertainment, you're being monetized by other people and you're not monetizing yourself. So, all right, I'm dying to see your Ditto videos. I'm way too cheap to buy one for myself because you're limited in the patterns you can use. Yeah. And that's another thing. I would not have purchased a Ditto sewing pattern projector if I was just buying it for myself. So just being completely honest. I'm not expecting it to knock my socks off. I was sure as hell not willing to pay $800 for. But when it went below $350, I was like, I feel like I can justify that. Yeah, exactly. $800? No. $330, I was like, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, when social media is work, you don't use it for pleasure. Exactly. And like I use like I use Instagram again to like post myself. I don't spend a ton of time on Instagram just because, and in fact, I don't watch a ton of other sewing YouTube channels. I'll watch things if I want to learn something specific, but I don't like, I like, that's the thing. I'm the one creating content. I'm not really consuming a ton of sewing YouTube myself, if I'm being honest here. All right, I'm going to mute myself real quick. All right. And I'll continue taking questions. So if you guys can have further questions about YouTube or about the business stuff, I'll be taking another break in a little bit. But I want to talk about the topic everyone has been dying to get more of, and that is JOANN Fabrics. And JOANN Fabrics has put out an announcement this week about a new project that the company is doing. And I have some mixed feelings about this. All right, so let's bring this up. So I saw this and I was like, okay. So despite JOANN's basically at this point being like a sinking ship where people are trying to like get on the lifeboats, think of JOANN as kind of like the Titanic at this point, like the Titanic movie. So instead of trying to like maybe fix the ship or something like that, JOANN's has kind of put out like this little side project, and I'm like, okay, so let's take a look at what JOANN's is doing. And all right, what is going on? I'm trying to share this tab. I don't know if this is working here. All right, okay, here we go. So JOANN's has put out this press release this week, and we'll read this. So JOANN announces partnership with nonprofit Loose Ends Project, matching volunteers with crafts loved ones have left unfinished. Now, I think overall, big picture, I think it's a good thing to try to get all of these. Look, a lot of us, we're being real. I've got a lot of works in progress or stuff I started and I didn't finish. And I do think it's a worthy pursuit to try to get a lot of these unfinished, like sewing, quilting, knitting projects finished. I think that's super cool. But I do have some thoughts on what I think about JOANN specifically being involved. All right, press release. The nation's category leader, JOANN Inc., the nation's category leader in sewing and fabrics with one of the largest arts and crafts offerings, is proud to announce a new partnership with nonprofit organization Loose Ends Projects. Loose Ends aims to ease grief, create community, and inspire generosity by matching volunteer handwork finishers with projects people have left unfinished due to death or disability. JOANN and Loose Ends will kick off their partnership, offering exclusive discounts for project finishers, in-kind product donations, and all JOANN locations nationwide will serve as designated meetup spots for loved ones and finishers to swap projects. JOANN has always been deeply committed to our communities, and there is nothing more inspiring than seeing the connections between our creative customers, their crafts, and the projects they give to those they love, said Chris DiTullio, Chief Customer Officer and Interim Office of the CEO. JOANN is proud to partner with Loose Ends to continue connecting crafts left. I feel like, did they repeat that? All right, this is pretty much, I feel like this is created by ChatGPT or something. To continue connecting crafts left behind with finishers around the world so loved ones can cherish the creator's memory in the way they intended. Loose Ends is honored to partner with JOANN. From the very beginning, JOANN generously provided needed materials to complete unfinished projects, said Maisie Kaplan, Loose Ends Project co-founder. Now, as a formal sponsor, they are providing critical resources that allow our organization to grow and further our mission We are aligned in the belief that a handmade object is an expression of love, and we are grateful for their support of the crafting community. To continue its support, JOANN will host a point-of-sale campaign for the month of February 2024, when customers can donate $1, $5, or $10, or round up their purchase to the nearest dollar. All proceeds will benefit the Mission of Loose Ends project. The idea for Loose Ends came about when the founders, both avid knitters, realized that they had a shared experience. Friends would often ask them to finish blankets, sweaters, or other projects left unfinished by deceased loved ones. They would always do so enthusiastically, understanding what it feels like to wear something a loved one has made. But not everyone has a friend who's a skilled crafter. That's where Loose Ends comes in. Instead of wondering where to turn, surviving family and friends can find out about the volunteer network of Loose Ends through referrals from craft stores, from an online search, or through word of mouth. Since its formation in 2022, Loose Ends has nearly 20,000 volunteer finishers from every state in the U.S., plus Puerto Rico and D.C., as well as in 54 other countries. To learn more about Loose Ends or to become a finisher or submit a project, visit looseendsproject.org. For more information on JOANN, including store locations, visit joann.com. So that's the latest from JOANN. Now, look, I'm not gonna... I think on the surface, this seems like a perfectly, nice, charitable thing to do. Here's where I'm kind of like, WTF, though. I'm like, JOANN's has a lot of problems currently. They're on the risk of filing for bankruptcy. The stock price is 46 cents. I'm not saying this is a wrong move or a bad thing to do, but I guess my question is, should this be the top priority at JOANN's right now? Probably not. I've never heard of this organization. I did see they were just founded less than 2 years ago. So, I've never heard of this organization before. I think the idea is nice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But, I just think, this is again, if this was Titanic, this would be trying to plug the iceberg damage with a Band-Aid or something, or with a piece of tape. I think the sentiment behind it is nice. Here's my question, though. One, I hate when businesses ask you to donate money at the register. I'm just not a fan. One, I feel like it puts it puts unnecessary pressure on customers, and they have to make a snap decision in the moment when they probably never have heard of this nonprofit. I never donate this way. It's do you want to donate $1 to the March of Dimes or whatever? This could be a great charity, but I kind of like to research the nonprofit on my own to see whether this is the best use of my, charitable donations. I don't like that they're doing this at the register. Not a fan. Plus, I would prefer to donate directly through the charity, not giving my money to JOANN's that will donate it to the charity. And JOANN's would get the tax write-off, but not me. So that kind of bothers me. The other thing that sort of rubs me the wrong way is the fact that this is another thing that the employees are going to have to do. It's the stores are already understaffed. A lot of the longtime people who actually knew anything about sewing, knitting, and crafts have left. They've flown the coop a long time ago. So now you have all these Gen Z employees, a lot of them who probably don't sew or craft at JOANN's, having to deal with this and figure this stuff out. Having to worry about all the register donations. It's another thing for them to do when they aren't even well staffed enough to do the core functions at the store. So I'm I feel this is going to turn into a hot mess, sort of like the JOANN's, remember the mask program during COVID? I heard some horror stories. On the surface, it looked cool, but I heard the actual execution of the mask making program on a ground level ended up being a total dumpster fire, and it ended up not working out as intended. So I'm is this something JOANN's really needs to be doing right now? Again, no shade to this Loose Ends project organization. I really don't know anything about it. never heard of it before. But, could this get more people to JOANN stores? Hypothetically, yes, if this is like the meetup spot. But when I was at my local JOANN's, like there was a little area that was meant to be like sort of like a hangout spot. And it was a mess. It was filled with like random boxes and like cartons of stuff. And it wasn't really in any shape to like be a hangout spot. So that's where I have very mixed emotions about this announcement. And I'm like, do they really need to be doing this right now? Another thing I'd like to point out is, all right, we got to talk about the JOANN stock price. Because the JOANN stock price right now is not good. The JOANN's stock price last week was about 46 cents. It's about the same. JOANN stock is in the toilet. JOANN stock is not doing well. And I found this site. This is from Investors Observer. Oh, and by the way, all of the resources are linked in the description box if you'd like to read them for yourself. Things are not going well at JOANN's. Record lows. I mean, yeah, it's currently rated as like a bearish market, means like people are gonna short the stock. Basically, this is like not a buy. I found this other article. Is JOANN Inc. a stock about to get hot Thursday? I think this is from a few days ago. Obviously, we know the answer is no at this point. The stock is obviously not hot because it's at 46 cents. Yeah, this is not great. So it says, what's happening with JOANN stock? JOANN stock is lower by negative 1.91%, while the S&P 500 is up 0.08% as of Thursday. Yeah, this is not great. Over the past year, the S&P 500 is higher by 18.85%, while JOANN is down 89.45%. JOANN lost $5.82 per share over the past 12 months. So, again, I would ask, should like partnering with a nonprofit and doing some new pet project be a priority for JOANN Fabrics? At this point, if I was at a management level, I would probably be focusing on other priorities right now. This is their choice. Again, I'm not condoning it, but yeah, JOANN stock tumbles 12%. Again, another article. This is from December, but again, you get the general idea. Things are not going well at JOANN's. We've already gone over what's going on, but this is not great, guys. This is just not great. And like, I feel like maybe they made this announcement to like get some, quick PR. Again, put out a press release, nice feel-good story. But my point is that JOANN's has some pretty large, deep issues that it needs to figure out. And I'm not sure if doing some project to connect people who didn't finish crafting projects with people who finished them should be like number one right now. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's read some comments. So that's my thoughts on this announcement. I don't think it's like a horrible idea, but I'm like, should this really be where their efforts are, being placed right now? I don't know. All right, Gilbert says, trust me, no one in the corporate office sews, let alone craft. They get their ideas from their kids or TikTok. Oh boy, that's kind of frightening. All right, Eva says, that's a good idea. We do that at a church. My mom finished many quilt tops my grandma left. And that's the thing. I think the idea is very nice. I think it's a cool thing. I'm just wondering, is this something a company in deep financial trouble needs to be focusing on right now? I don't know. All right, this is a nice idea to get traffic into the stores. I think JOANN's needs to part with their board. That's where all the money is going. All right, I agree, Jen. It's bizarre. Yeah, it's just a little strange. Again, if we compare JOANN Fabrics to the Titanic post-iceberg collision, it would be like me taking like a tiny piece of tape and trying to put that over the damage, It just seems very, shuffling the chairs on the Titanic. It kind of feels that way. I'm like, what? How is this really going to make a significant improvement to the operation of the stores? Nancy says, I'm skeptical. I will not be rounding up my purchases at JOANN's. And I would say this, if you check out the Loose Ends Project and want to donate, I would donate directly to them. I would probably not donate through JOANN's, because then JOANN's gets the write-off. I would donate, again, find the website, make a direct donation if that's something you feel you want to support. I'm skeptical. Okay, we've read that. I will not be rounding up my purchase at JOANN's. If JOANN's could get classes in their stores and try more for the community, that's something I think that might help, is trying to get more people, like make it like kind of a hangout space. Make it a place where people can come together. I would offer meeting space for free. Like if a sewing group or if a quilting group wants to meet there for free, like offer them the space for free. It would get people into the store, get some foot traffic. Maybe they would buy some stuff, have it be like a spot. Also, I know this would cost more money. Maybe if they would allow some sort of concession vendor in there so people could have some snacks, sort of like how Sam's Club and Costco does that. Maybe let a third party food vendor in to maybe have like a snack bar. So people, or like a coffee bar, people could hang out. You could get a cup of coffee, hang out, meet other people, have it be like kind of a like community space, something like that. The only time I donate at the register is when I buy things at PetSmart, and I always donate $1. Hey, that's good. Yeah, teacher, that's a good point. Getting people to teach, they would have to pay the teachers, and if you want a good teacher, they wouldn't be working for like minimum wage or something. All right, Isar says, sounds like BS. I worked as a contract instructor for JOANN's, and they eventually got rid of all of us during COVID. The management constantly pushed us to convince customers to rent classrooms. That's the thing. I think they should offer that for free. Like, don't charge people, or like offer to have like kids party. Imagine having like a kids party. They should offer like kids parties there. Like have someone doing like a craft. Imagine letting people in. They could have kind of like Chuck E. Cheese does, or like other places do for like cookie decorating, or like other types of crafts, like the Color Me Mine pottery place. What they could do is they could, maybe for like a fairly reasonable price, you get like a whole party for your kid's birthday there. You get pizza in there, you get some snacks, a place to have cake, a place that you can decorate and have some cake, and have someone teach like a craft, and all of the supplies come from JOANN's. Just an idea thrown out here. Trust me when I say nobody in upper management understands JOANN's customer and what they really want. My local store moved in September, and they are bare on thread. It's bad when you can't get white. Yeah, if you can't buy white thread at a JOANN's, that's a problem. Everyone's saying this. Maybe they should get rid of all of the excessive fleece. I would agree with that. Who wants to send their beloved projects to a JOANN's where it could get lost or potentially ruined? That's a solid point to bring up, is JOANN's managing all of this, these items. I can see if it's something sentimental, that could be a problem. And we've already know that JOANN's staffing is, painful. Like, these people don't need anything else I feel like these employees don't need anything else on their plate right now. Orders are made 9 months in advance, so predicting the market is hard. Yeah, buying for any store is kind of hard, like fashion, anything like that. They used to do classes, and like Jen said, the classrooms are full of my JOANN's, like the whole classroom space, did not look ready for people. Let's just say that. In most cities, we lost access to public spaces for meetups in general. Yeah, exactly. I had a conversation with a district manager who said nobody wants to come in stores for classes anymore. They all want to watch on YouTube. I hate to say it, people like me probably contributed somewhat to the in-person learning experience, because a lot of people want to learn at home. I think JOANN definitely has a YouTube. Like, they have like a fairly decent amount of subscribers too. Like, they could do, another thing, they could do more with their YouTube channel, They could do the social media thing. They could be more active in trying to help sewing and craft people. All right. I do have kind of a humorous story to share with everyone. And I'm very amused by this. So I did a video like a few years ago. Kind of the backstory is that I used to be, okay, I was one of like the early Craftsy customers. I used to buy their online classes a la carte when that was a thing. And I was a big fan. I learned a lot from Craftsy classes. I felt the course material was very high quality. The teachers were great. And you could really go in depth on certain topics that you wanted to learn about, certain techniques, things like sewing suits, shirts, doing like proper interfacing for making suits, that sort of thing. I feel like I learned a lot about, I became a better sewist because of my Craftsy classes. Over the years, Craftsy has evolved quite a bit. They started offering like everything is turning into a subscription, and Craftsy turned into a subscription. Craftsy was also bought and sold a few times. It started off as like a startup, then it was sold to NBC Universal. Then eventually they announced they were going to close Craftsy down. Then Craftsy was purchased by TN Marketing, which does a lot of like sort of sketchy marketing. Like they own like Sewing Circle or like Quilters, some other things where it's like, they market these like, hey, get the first year, subscribe to us for $2.99, and then the next year we'll bill your credit card for $80. Craftsy also used to sell the supplies, and they stopped doing that. For quite a while, I was a Craftsy affiliate. I thought it was a good like software as a service type product, and I did truly feel like it was a good benefit to the sewing community. But after all of the changes, I did a video a few years ago where I talked about why I was canceling my Craftsy subscription. I was able to keep the classes I purchased outright, and I still am able to log into my account and watch the classes. So I'm very glad for that, and I really hope they don't take that away because I paid for all of those classes outright. And that video got a lot of traction, and kind of what I was afraid of happening did end up happening. If you look at the comments on that original video, I think I called it like why I'm canceling my Craftsy subscription. I also stopped being a Craftsy affiliate. They've turned it into another one of those like sketchy things that you pay for digitally and then they keep charging your credit card. A lot of people in the comments said they canceled their subscription or they thought they were canceling the subscription, and Craftsy continued to bill them for a lot of money after they thought they'd canceled. So a lot of people were having difficulties truly canceling Craftsy, and Craftsy was continuing to take money out of their credit card accounts. So I thought that was pretty not great. I've made a couple other videos talking about, I think I made like one follow-up video, and people have, like that video really gained a lot of traction because a lot of other people were experiencing the same thing. So I'm kind of well known for being fairly critical of certain companies. I've been critical of JOANN's, Cricut, Craftsy. That's why I ain't getting a lot of big sponsorships here, brother. Anything that's trying to turn what was a good thing into a subscription, because that drives me crazy. So imagine my surprise this week to get an email from, guess who? From Craftsy. So I gotta show you the email because I was like, what the heck? So I had to upload this as a video because I was having a hard time like getting like a picture I was having a hard time getting a picture to like get into the stream. So this is the email I got from Craftsy, and I'm very amused by it. So it came from someone in the marketing department at Craftsy, and what's funny about this is it's very clear that this person is not familiar with me at all, because if they were, they wouldn't be sending me this email to begin with. So it says, hello, my name is so-and-so, and I'm reaching out from Craftsy. We are an online resource for all creative makers where you can find everything you need from basic instruction to advanced techniques. We are looking to partner with successful YouTube influencers like yourself on sponsored videos where our content would align with your audience's hobbies and interests. Please let me know if you'd be interested in partnering with us, and we can discuss details via email or set up a quick call. Thank you in advance. Kind regards, blah, blah, blah. International Director Marketing, Craftsy, owned by TN Marketing. LLC. So I saw that email and I just kind of laughed my ass off for like a minute because I was like, they have no idea who they're dealing with, because if they did, they would never be offering me a Craftsy sponsorship, because I have publicly stated my disassociation and criticism, heavy criticism, of what Craftsy is currently doing. So I was a fan of Craftsy in the past. I'm definitely not now. I don't have a Craftsy subscription. And I think a lot of the tactics they're doing to get customers is very sketchy. So I do find this pretty hilarious. Also, just an FYI, if you're seeing them send me this email, you can bet your bottom dollar they are probably sending this email to a bunch of other sewing influencers. So if you start to see a lot of sponsored content around Craftsy, I wouldn't be surprised, because yeah, I don't like the tactics. I really don't like promoting anything subscription based generally. And I definitely don't like how the whole like kind of like they reel you in with like the very artificially low priced subscription, and then they jack up the price and continue to charge your card. It seems like one of these things that's very hard to actually cancel. So that's why I do not recommend Craftsy. Again, I don't have a subscription anymore. I just have the classes I purchased, but I do find it hilarious that they reached out to me for a sponsorship offer. So you're probably going to start to see some other sewing influencers hawking Craftsy and doing some sponsored stuff with them. This is a company I don't want to do business with. I did not respond at all. I just, whatever. I just thought it would be funny to share on the live stream because it's kind of hilarious. I also, after doing all of the Cricut live streams and videos, I did get like funny enough, I did get like a marketing agency reaching out to me trying to offer me like a Cricut sponsorship. And I was like, yeah, you probably don't want me. And they're like, oh yeah, haha. So just another fun influencer story from a company that is clearly very out of touch with who they are reaching out to. All right, let's read a few more comments here. All right, we got Lisa here. Sounds like the head honchos at JOANN headquarters still don't have their shit together. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, would agree. Debbie says, oh no, I'm glad you are covering this. My subscription is supposed to end in 2 weeks. Yeah, you better cancel it now, Debbie. I ended renewal 2 months ago. I'll have to keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on your credit card, because the weird thing is I canceled my subscription and okay, so I believe it was after I canceled. I had some weird credit card fraud, so I had to get a new credit card. So totally different number. And somehow the saved credit card info on my Craftsy account was like the new card info after I changed my credit card info. And I did not input it myself. I thought that was really weird. So if you have a Craftsy subscription, I would definitely make sure they're not charging your credit card for an amount you did not authorize. I've got War Paint and Unicorns. JOANN only started to ship to Canada recently. For years, I wanted to order things, and through the saving grace of another cosplayer, I was able to get a really hard-to-find brocade they picked up for me. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad we have like a nice story about JOANN's experience. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so yeah, just a heads up. One, you're probably going to start to see a bunch of sponsored Craftsy social media content. Now you know why. And it is funny that this marketing person clearly didn't really vet a lot of the creators. So I do find that kind of funny in my opinion. So all right. We're going to talk K-dramas. I hinted at this a little bit earlier. I have since finished My Man is Cupid. Highly recommend this K-drama. It's available on Amazon Prime. I really enjoyed the show. I thought the premise was super weird. And it mashes together a bunch of different genres that like normally wouldn't go together. Like, it's sort of sci-fi fantasy. It's romantic comedy. It's also got like thriller crime elements because there's a serial killer storyline. And on the surface, you're like, how would those really go together? The writers of this drama made it work. Somehow they made it work. I liked the cast. I liked the lead couple. I thought they were super cute. They also had like a bunch of really great side characters, and I loved, it's about a guy that's literally Cupid, like shooting hearts into people, kind of Cupid. And there's like 4 Cupids on the show. There's 4 different Cupids. I don't know if there's a difference, but they all are responsible for like, getting people to love each other. And the side Cupids I thought were kind of funny. The show is like very wacky. Like they're one of the Cupids, I'm not sure why, but he shapeshifts into a dog. And I'm like, this is weird. So like half the time it's like a Korean guy with bleached blonde hair, and the other half it's like a Labrador retriever wearing goofy outfits. So that part was like that whole aspect was pretty bizarre. And they somehow got all of the storylines to kind of come together, and like they managed to come up with a like resolution to the stories. Everything's tied up. I was actually pretty happy. I hate when the dramas start off like good and then they go downhill. This one actually ended on like a very satisfying note. Had some good humor in it, but also I thought the acting, especially the lead actress, her name is Nana. She's a K-pop star. Really great actress. I really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed her portrayal of the character. Her character is a veterinarian who's unlucky in love. Great show. If this is like your first foray into the K-dramas, I actually think this is a pretty decent one to start with. And then I started watching a darker show called Bad and Crazy. I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of a dark crime thriller show. I'm on like episode 5. It's not the typical show I would watch, but it's pretty good so far. I like the main actor, Lee Dong-wook. He's excellent. I'm probably going to start watching. There's another one called Marry My Husband, starring Park Min-young. That one looks pretty promising too, so I'll probably start that one after I finish Bad and Crazy. That one's still on the air though, so it's got a few more episodes to go. So I'll probably wait a little bit for that. But that's sort of the K-drama update this week. And again, I kind of watch them when I'm eating, or if I'm like laying and, kind of trying to go to sleep. That's kind of when I go into K-drama mode. But a lot of good stuff on there. Lots of great stuff on Amazon Prime, Netflix. You could also get a Viki subscription if you're really hardcore about it. But there's a lot of great Korean shows. If you're kind of sick of all of the American, tired, just the tired stuff that Hollywood's been churning out and all the reboots, highly recommend checking out some Korean stuff. All right, let's check out a few more of the comments. We've got Isar here. JOANN's summer camp for kids was a great idea. However, too many families had unrealistic expectations. These are children, not degreed fashion designers. You know what? Somehow I can really see that happening. That's kind of, somehow that always seems to happen. It's like, yeah, you can only do so, if they're children, you can only do so much in a limited amount of time, like they're kids. It's like, it's not like they're going to be, it's not like they're going to be the next, Project Runway winner in like 2 weeks. It takes time. The corporate office demands that instructors follow their lesson plans. Are the lesson plans good? I don't know. Are they any good, or are they kind of terrible? All right, guys, last chance for comments, questions. I'll stick around for a little bit, and then I got to get some food. But this has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed and found this show helpful. I really wanted to share some insights as someone who has a sewing related business and does content creation. So I do hope you did, find this somewhat helpful if that's something you've been considering. But I think in conclusion, I think most people are best at just letting your sewing be a hobby and not trying to monetize everything. And if you do monetize it, not having these like very unrealistic expectations, because if you do want to have a successful sewing related business, it's probably going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources. And I do think there are much easier ways of making money, especially if you have like a high profile or a high paying job already. I think it would be very difficult for you to quote unquote make a living with sewing. So I just wanted to be very realistic with it and not try to give you like just these like crazy, like make six figures easy kind of dreams, because I just don't think that's very helpful to anyone out there, because like the people who do that, they're just such outlier extreme situations, and that's like not the norm. So if you did find this helpful, I greatly appreciate you hitting the like button on your way out and subscribe to Sewing Report Live if you enjoy the live format. And also just a quick shout out once again to tonight's live stream sponsor, the Sewing Report Etsy shop. I greatly appreciate everyone here who places orders and chooses the Sewing Report to get your sewing supplies, fabric, and other handmade goodies. But I'm Jen with the Sewing Report, and all right, we got a couple more comments here. All right, hello, like your channel and news updates. Are you live on Sundays only? We're gonna start off doing Sunday. I've had trouble in the past being consistent, so right now I'm trying to do Sundays around 7 p.m. Eastern time, just to try to get in the rhythm. Doing a live show is harder than it looks. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time even to prepare for the show. So I think I'm going to try to be consistent on Sundays. I may also, if we really get cooking, I may do some random midweek streams if I can, or maybe sew and chill or sew and chat, if I'm cutting fabric or making something. But this format seems to be what is resonating with people. So I'll probably do more of this type of show. All right, Jen says, I have a hard time charging enough to make any profit. See, Jen, so earlier we were talking about marketing and branding and social media to promote your business. This is tough to say, but the people that are charging high dollar for their handmade items, typically they're very good at marketing, social media, and developing a brand name. This is why people are paying $35 to hundreds of dollars for those silly Stanley cups instead of $1 at the dollar store. It's all about the positioning of your brand. So I do think branding is a very important part of any business. Debbie says, thank you, Jen. Very fun and informative as usual. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Debbie, for joining. Thank you, Lisa. I enjoy being here with all of you. Thank you, Jackie. I know, Jackie, you're often here lurking here. Thank you for the comment, but you're a woman of few words, but they're always good ones. Thank you for joining us. Glad I found your channel. It's great. Thank you very much, Sandy. All right, Annihilator says, I agree. I was thinking of going forward with selling handmade garments, but to avoid the stress of that, I'll try content creation instead to document my projects. Thank you for your advice, Jen. And here's the thing. You may find those two things feed into each other. I have become friendly with a guy named Jack Sews, and he basically shows his making process on Instagram and TikTok, and he sells all of his items fairly immediately because a lot of his followers want to buy his custom creations. So you may find doing those two things goes hand in hand. So that's what I would say. If you want to sell your handmade things, yeah, you might have a better luck with that if you build a brand around yourself. And you'll find a lot of those people, they might not necessarily be into sewing, but they want to buy things you made. So you might find that helps you just to do the two things in tandem. Jen says, I came in late and will go back to watch the beginning. I suck at marketing, lol. Here's the thing, you can improve your marketing. So I would say work on that, work on your branding. But yeah, I'm the same way too with watching live streams. I'll come in late and yeah, it's fine. You can fast forward, you can watch on the replay. That's, you get a number of different viewing options. Anyways, thank you all for watching tonight. I hope you all have a great week ahead, and I greatly appreciate it. Let's turn on the music to kind of play us out here. But again, I love doing these. I love being here with everyone. And these are really fun to do. I think doing a few different topics is sort of the way to go. But I'll catch everyone next Sunday at 7 p.m. I'm Jen with Sewing Report Live. Whatever you're doing, make it fun, and I'll see you again for another show.